Onions are one of those ingredients nobody can live without. Every cuisine on Earth uses them. They've been on our plates for over 4,000 years. And yet, every single time you pick up a knife and start chopping, your eyes immediately betray you. Streaming, stinging, full-on crying in the middle of your kitchen. Scientists have understood the basic chemistry behind this for a while now. But a brand new study from October 2025 asked a question nobody had properly investigated before. Not what makes you cry, but how does it actually reach your eyes? The answer involved a custom-built onion guillotine. And the results flipped some very popular kitchen wisdom completely upside down. So what's actually happening when you cut an onion? The moment your knife breaks through an onion's surface, it ruptures thousands of tiny cell walls. That single action kicks off a two-step chemical chain reaction inside the onion. First, an enzyme called allanase gets exposed to air and produces a compound called 1-propanethyl acid. That then reacts with a second enzyme, and together they manufacture the real troublemaker syn-propanethial S-oxide. That's the gas that drifts up toward your face, hits your tear glands, and sends them into full emergency mode. Interestingly, onions don't actually store this chemical ready-made. They store the ingredients, and your knife essentially pulls the trigger. What's even more surprising is that scientists only figured out that second step of this reaction in 2002. For a vegetable we've been cooking with since ancient Egypt, that's a remarkably recent discovery. One more fun fact before moving on. Onions pull sulfur out of the soil as they grow, and acid rain happens to be rich in sulfur. As cities have successfully reduced acid rain over the decades, onions in those areas may have quietly become less pungent. So if onions seemed more brutal when you were growing up, that's not just nostalgia. There may be real science behind it. The physics problem nobody had solved yet. Here's where things get interesting. Once the chemistry was understood, researchers assumed the problem was basically cracked. But there was one crucial piece nobody had looked at: the physics of how the chemical actually travels from the onion to your eyes. Because if you can understand exactly how those irritating droplets move through the air, you can figure out how to block them. That's the question a research team at Cornell University set out to answer. They designed a precision onion-cutting guillotine, paired it with high-speed cameras and an electron microscope, and began systematically testing every variable they could think of: blade sharpness, cutting speed, cutting angle, and onion temperature. What they discovered will change how you chop. The team found that the irritating chemical doesn't float through the air as a gas, it travels in liquid droplets. There's a sharp initial burst the moment the blade first breaks the onion's skin, followed by a slower, steadier release as the knife travels through. That first puncture is where most of the damage is done. Blunt knives make it significantly worse. A dull blade has to push much harder against the onion before it finally breaks through. All that built-up pressure releases at once in a much larger spray of droplets. So the old advice to always cook with a sharp knife just got a powerful new argument behind it. On top of the fact that sharp knives are already safer because they require less force and are far less likely to slip. Cutting speed matters too. The faster the blade moves through the onion, the more droplets get launched into the air. Slow, controlled cuts with a sharp knife produce the least spray, and therefore the least crying. The fridge hack? Completely debunked. If you've ever seen the tip about chilling your onion before cutting it, here's the hard truth. The Cornell researchers found no evidence that it helps. Worse, chilled onions actually released more droplets than room temperature ones in their experiments. The likely reason is that cold makes onion tissue stiffer and more rigid, so it resists the blade longer and then snaps under pressure more explosively, releasing a bigger burst of droplets all at once. Put the onion back on the counter. All right, this next part isn't from the Cornell research, but hear me out. There's a trick that's been quietly circulating in kitchens for years: placing a bowl of water or a damp towel right next to your chopping board while you cut onions. And honestly, the logic behind it is surprisingly solid. Here's the thinking. The chemical that makes you cry is water-soluble, meaning the moment it touches water, it gets absorbed and neutralized before it ever gets the chance to float up and attack your eyes. The problem, according to the research, is direction. The high-speed camera footage shows the droplets launching upward, straight toward your face. A bowl of water sitting flat on the counter won't intercept them. It might catch some ricochets and surface splashes, but it won't stop that first wave heading directly for your eyes. This is bigger than just cooking comfort. Beyond solving one of the kitchen's most irritating daily problems, this research has real implications for food safety. Vegetable droplets don't only carry irritating chemicals, they can carry harmful foodborne bacteria too. Understanding how cutting mechanics spray those droplets around means that sharper, slower knife work doesn't just save your eyes. It may actively reduce the spread of pathogens across your kitchen surfaces. One small change in technique, multiple layers of benefit. If you want to cry less while cutting onions, the science is now clear. Use a sharp knife. Cut slowly. That combination produces the fewest droplets and keeps the most irritant away from your eyes. And if you're still struggling after that, professional prep cooks have a secret weapon they're not embarrassed about at all. Goggles. It sounds ridiculous until it works every single time. Sharp knife. Slow cuts. Dry eyes. That's the science. If you learned something new today, hit that like button. It genuinely helps the channel. And subscribe if you want more science that actually shows up in your everyday life. I'll see you in the next one.